THE LAY OF HYMIR. Of old when the War gods their prey had won them, in mood for feasting and still unsated, they shook divining twigs, scanned the blood drops, and found all dainties in ^Egir's halls. As the Rock Giant sat in his wave brood rejoicing, and seemed in likeness the son of Mist blind, came Thor, and looked in his eyes with threatening: "Make now a goodly feast for the gods." But the harsh voiced hero angered the giant, who forthwith pondered revenge on the powers. He bade the Thunderer bring him a cauldron. "Wherein for all of you ale I may brew." The glorious gods, the holy powers, such vessel as this could nowhere find, till Tyr the Trusty whispered in secret words of friendly counsel to Thor. Tyr. 5. There dwells to the east of stormy billow the all wise Hymir, at heaven's end, my fierce souled father, who owns the kettle, the broad roomed cauldron, a full mile deep. Thor. 6. Dost know can we win that water seether? Tyr. If we use wiles thereto, my friend. So forth they drove through the livelong day till they came from Asgarth to Egil's home. He stalled the goats of the splendid horns, while they turned to the hall which Hymir owned. Unsightly seemed to Tyr his grandam, for heads she had 900 in all. But another came all golden forth, fair browed, and bearing to her son the ale cup. Hymir's wife. Kinsmen of giants, fain would I hide you 'neath yon cauldrons, though bold of heart; for my lord and master ofttimes shows him, mean to strangers, moves soon to wrath. Long tarried that monster, fierce mooded Hymir, ere he came from his hunting home. He entered the hall, and icicles clashed, all frozen was the bushy beard on his chin. Wife. Hail to thee, Hymir! Be gracious in mood, for here in thy halls is come our offspring, whom long we awaited from distant ways. And with him fares the foe of giants, the friend of man, whose name is Wardr. Dost see where they hide, the hall gable under, sheltering themselves with a pillar between? But the column was shattered at the glance of the giant, the mighty rafter was reft asunder. Down from the beam 8 cauldrons crashed, one hard hammered alone was whole. Then forth they stepped, but the ancient Jotun ever followed the foe with his eyes. For evil whispered his mind when he saw the bane of giant wives stand on the hearth. Yet took they soon of the oxen 3, and Hymir bade them cook forthwith. Each one left they less by a head, and laid them soon on the seething fire. Then, ere he slumbered, the Thunderer ate, himself alone, of the oxen twain. But Hymir, the hoary friend of Hrungnir, deemed too ample the meal of Thor. To morrow at eve shall we 3 have nought save our hunting spoil whereon to sup. Spake Thor, and said he would fish in the sea, if the fierce souled giant would find him bait. Hymir. Go, if thou darest, slayer of rock giants, seek thy bait from the herd thyself; for such as thou I ween 'twill seem that bait from an ox were easy to win. Forthwith sped Thor, bold youth, to the wood, and soon all swart stood an ox before him. Then over its horns the slayer of Jotuns struck, and sundered the head high towering. Hymir. Methinks thou art worse by far afoot than at table sitting, steerer of barks. Then the Lord of Goats bade the low born churl drive the launched sea horse further from shore. But little he wished, that wary giant, to row any further over the ocean. Alone the famous and fierce souled Hymir caught on his hook 2 whales at once. But aft in the stern the son of Odin fashioned with craft his fishing line. Lone serpent slayer and shield of men, he baited his hook with the head of the ox. And he whom the gods hate gaped thereat, the girdle lying all lands beneath. Then Thor drew mightily, swift in his doing, the poison glistening snake to the side. His hammer he lifted and struck from on high the fearful head of Fenrir's brother. Moaned the wild monster, the rocks all rumbled, the ancient earth shrank into itself, then sank the serpent down in the deep. So cheerless was the giant as back they rowed, that for a while not a word he spake; then anew he turned, the tiller of thought. Hymir. Now half the work shalt thou share with me. Or moor thou fast our floating steed, or bear the whales to the dwellings home, all through the hollows of the wooded hills." Then the Thunderer rose, laid hold on the stem, he landed the boat with the water therein, and the Ocean Swine with the baler and oars himself he bore to the giants' home. But still the Jotun, stubborn as ever, questioned anew the Thunderer's might. "I deem none strong, row he ne'er so well, save he who hath power to break my cup." Then the Storm god, swift, when it came to his hands, dashed into pieces a pillar of stone. Yea, sitting, he hurled the cup through the columns, but whole 'twas borne to Hymir again. At length the fair mistress, with friendly words, made known the secret she only knew. "Strike at Hymir's skull, the food filled giant's, 'tis harder than ever a wine cup was." Then rose to his knees the strong Lord of Goats, and girt him with all the might of the gods. Still sound above was the head of Hymir, shattered below was the shapely wine cup. Hymir. Gone already, I trow, is my treasure, when I see the cup now cast by thee kneeling. So spake the churl: I can say never more, Ale in my cauldron now art thou brewed. But 'tis yet to prove if ye can bear the mighty vessel forth from our court. Twice in vain sought Tyr to move it, ever unstirred the cauldron stood. Then the Father of Wrath laid hold on the rim and heaved the cauldron high on his head. Against his heels the handles clinked as across the hearth he strode down the hall. Far had they fared ere Odin's son had turned him once to look behind and eastward saw from the cairns forthcoming, with Hymir, a war host 100-headed. From his shoulders raised he the resting cauldron, swung he Mjollnir, death craving hammer, and the monsters all from the mountains slew. But they fared not far ere the Thunderer's goat had laid him down half dead in the way, for lame in the leg was the shaft bound steed. 'Twas the work of Loki, crafty in wiles. But ye have heard, for who knows it better of sages learned in the lore of the gods, what amends made the Dweller in Wastes, who paid to the Thunderer both his bairns. Swelling with might to the meeting of gods, came Thor with the cauldron which Hymir had owned, and the holy ones ever shall well drink ale, each harvest of flax in the sea god's hall. Recording by Expatriate in Bangor, Maine. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org.